Rishi Sunak claims Britain could descend into mob rule if the police don't do more to stop disruptive protests. The Prime Minister says politicians needed better protection from intimidation and subversion after pro-Palestine protests began targeting Parliament and MPs' homes. Sunak told police chiefs at Downing Street that they had the full backing of ministers to take tougher action on behaviour designed to shout down free debate and stop elected representatives doing their job. This follows the announcement of a £31 million funding boost for MPs' security. Meanwhile, a council meeting in the Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle's constituency descended into chaos after it was hijacked by pro-Palestine protesters. One of the councillors shouted, "It's surely not bloody Gaza," as the demonstrators were pushed out of the room.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine! Why has no motion been put to this chamber? We were told that if they would be happy, the Labour group would be happy to put a motion to this chamber. Why has that not happened?
Because it's surely not bloody Gaza! Dudes! Go on!
There you go. It's surely not Gaza. Get out. And I'm with the councillor
Me
on that
too.
one. I do think protesting outside MPs' homes, it's ridiculous. Gluing yourself to roads, it's ridiculous. By all means, make your concerns known about an issue. 1 million people marched to save fox hunting. 1 million people marched to stop the Iraq war. That's a demonstration that shows the depth of protest. But it's the kind of self-appointed spokesman, holier than thou, who decide they're going to take it to the next level. So that's annoying, but it's also intimidating. It's dangerous. 2 MPs have been murdered. I'm not for a minute saying that people who demonstrate outside an MP's house would contemplate anything like that. But if you're an MP, that is scary stuff.
I'm a bit
There's a
divided.
place and a time to demonstrate.
I'm a bit divided on this, Ed, because you're absolutely right. You don't sit outside people's homes. You don't sit outside their kids' schools. You don't do that kind of stuff. That is intimidating and it's dangerous. But there's a part of me that thinks, disrupting a council meeting in ordinary circumstances or attempting to get... every now and again at a select committee, someone will hold up a little banner going, please don't ban ferrets or something like that. You think, well...
What select committee meetings are you going to?
You've not been.
I wasn't aware of the ban.
Honestly, Ed, you were there for many years.
You're right. I mean, student sit-ins, demos at council meetings...
there's something about that that's kind of slightly pure in a way, in the old days, you could say, because now we're in slightly different times. With this, what I find curious is Netanyahu sits there hatching his next move. I don't imagine for 1 second he's thinking, well, I was going to do that, but then there was this thing in Chorley. It's so removed, it's so stupid. It's, it's a 4,000-mile-away war. Yeah. It's very serious. It has international implications. But turning up at a council meeting in Chorley just looks a bit dumb.
But they're doing it to put pressure on their local MPs, who can then put pressure on Starmer when he's the next Prime Minister to then say ceasefire, because Starmer
Which will make no difference at all.
It may make no difference at all. But the problem is, I think, is that this is embedded, it's infiltrated every part of our society. You've got parents protesting outside schools because they don't want what's being taught to their kids. You've got university students protesting people who are being booked as guest speakers. You've got Tory MPs last week protesting and sitting down in protest against Lindsay, right, the Speaker of the House. So this now is just the way that this country operates. So everyone just protests all the time, and I think it's ridiculous.
Isn't it really rich, though, for the Prime Minister to be shouting now, several months down the line, kind of saying, oh, well, this is awful, everything's descending into mob rule. Did you look in the mirror lately, Prime Minister? You're in charge. My theme on this is, where has this leadership been all this time? This should never have escalated to the point we've got where there are people protesting outside people's homes, where there are council meetings being interrupted in that way, where horrible slogans are being beamed onto Big Ben, which we can all agree is absolutely outrageous. Why is Sunak only now coming out and saying this? He's been invisible.
He did pass a law last year. We passed a law which Labour opposed to crack down on these kind of glue protesters who keep gluing themselves to everything that moves or doesn't move, like roads, and stopping the rest of us moving, including ambulances. So there are tough laws, and Labour kicked off about it.
Has it? It hasn't proven effective. And my point is that Sunak has shown really weak leadership on this. I don't think he's been visible. Where has he been?
I think it's interesting, going back to JJ's point about the amount of protests and all the different subjects that people are taking to the streets about it. And actually, in some ways, for years and years, we've been talking about apathy and the fact that people aren't interested in current affairs or news or politics, and that, you know, voter turnout is going down and so on. So I don't know, is there a tiny silver lining to say that maybe people are more interested in the world, and the fact that, yes, Gaza is very, very far away. Maybe there's something nice about the fact that people care what's going on in Gaza, rather than shrugging their shoulders and saying, oh, not me.
But it's really ignorant, unfortunately. So much of it is based on ignorance. So I would agree with you if these were well-informed debates. But, you know, when people on these marches, of course, there are some who are thoroughly across all the minutiae, but I'm afraid there are a lot of people there, particularly young people, who just think they're in some kind of hashtag Be Kind brigade.
Do you know what? And you mentioned hashtag, and I think just a final point on this, it's the social media-ness of it. Years ago, Ed, you rightly mentioned the Stop the War campaign. But whatever anybody thinks about that, 1 million people marched. Social media didn't exist. That was done by leaflets and people putting up posters. The pro-fox hunting march, which I think was the second biggest march in history, exactly the same thing. Now, you've just got to say, Parliament Square, 3 o'clock, press a button.
But also, I think there's another social media point, which is a lot of the discourse and toxicness of social media has leaked into how people do things in real life now.